Hello, everybody. Happy National Indigenous Peoples Day. It's a mixed day for Indigenous people. It's intended to celebrate the traditions and cultures and contributions of Indigenous people in Canada, but it's more complicated than that for us because we know that those cultures and languages and traditions and children survived in spite of the many systems that were created to eradicate them. So we celebrate for a different reason, and it's not always easy. And reconciliation of that relationship isn't always going to be easy either, because you can't simply replace 500 years of cultural genocide with 5 years of cultural safety training and a national holiday. So we want people to understand that while things are much better than they used to be, and it's safer to be Indigenous in Canada today, it's still not entirely safe. The statistics are clear that we still suffer probably the worst negative social health indicators of any demographic in the country. We die faster and more often of practically everything than anyone else in this country. And in spite of that, we're the fastest growing population. But that's another matter due to our survival characteristics. So we also need to understand that reconciling the relationship with Canada is going to take more. To us, the fastest, quickest way to resolve many of those issues would be to get some of our land back. But that seems like a beyond question. It's not even on the table, and we need to understand why, because nobody's answered that question, why we are not worthy of having more land. We also understand that we have a very different relationship to land than the colonized relationship with the land that treats land as property. We understand the land to be our ancestor. She's our relative. She's our greatest and our first grandmother. And we've had to watch her be harmed and traumatized over the past 500 years, where there's been extraction and exploitation and even destruction of these lands of our first grandmother. And that's difficult for us to watch. But we've done our best to protect her and defend her as best we can within these systems that have unfortunately limited us to 0.3% of the lands that we managed successfully for 10,000 years. But it's difficult to convince people that a different relationship is possible. So if anyone has 97% of their resources and wealth and property taken, well, of course, they're going to suffer for a long time because of it. And it was taken unjustly. And that's been acknowledged in many land acknowledgements across the country and millions of emails every day in this country. And yet there's no movement to address that primary injustice of colonization. So because of the long history that Indigenous people have had in Canada and the traumas that we've had to survive, we've actually had to become experts in trauma and healing trauma. So what we've actually found is the healing of that trauma is based and rooted in the land itself. And we've also found that it works for everybody. I think even modern science says that 20 minutes a day in nature is healing for everybody. And we've known that for thousands of years. So what we've also found is that doing decolonizing work, whether it's land-based healing, whether it's plant medicines, whether it's body-centered trauma work, it's all decolonizing, and it's actually the most healing work that you can do. So the unintended side benefit of doing decolonizing work is that it heals you while you're doing it. So we encourage people to do more of that, to get in touch with local Indigenous people and First Nations and organizations and begin that process of building relationship with the community and understand those healing techniques because they work for everybody. If you're really interested in helping out, then contact me at Frog Hollow, many of the organizations that I work with. We can introduce you to other agencies who could use some help and support and find a good partnership and relationship in community that can benefit from your assistance, and you can learn a lot while you do it as well. So there's many opportunities to partner and build relationship and even friendships in community that will be mutually beneficial. Yeah, support your local Indigenous people and organizations, follow their social media accounts, like them, repost them. We think that this country would be better for everyone if they abandoned some of the archaic colonial policies and instead adopted some of the techniques and traditions that worked for us for 10,000 years. I think it's worth a conversation.